Herkes kimsenin videolarını görmüyorum. İsterseniz açın yüzlerinizi görelim. Belki beğenirsiniz, beğenmezsiniz. Sizin tepkilerinizi görmek bizim için her zaman iyi bir dönüş oluyor. Ee, Tanımayanlar varsa merhaba İrem Hanım. Yeşim Erez Admittance Education ekipten başkaları da var. Acaba kendilerini şöyle ellerini kaldırırlar mı? Rica etsek. Çok teşekkürler. Okay. Um, Çok kısaca İngilizceye döneceğim. Jin Chow'yu size tanıştıracağım ve sözü ona vereceğim. Çünkü İngilizce olacak. Çünkü kız Türkçe bilmiyor. Kusura bakmayın. Ama sorularınızı Türkçe sorabilirsiniz chatten. Biz ona tercüme edeceğiz. Sonunda yanıtlayabilmesi için. I'm just explaining that this will be done in English, but that they can ask their questions in either language, and then we will, help translate. But I have to say, I'm just so happy to have you with us because I know you'll be in Turkey quite often and on webinars. Maybe maybe your team will come and visit Turkish students. But so we met. I think it was during COVID, I want to say, or immediately after, right? Um,
Yeah, during COVID, I think actually.
During COVID. And so I'm just going to explain this in Turkish just to put it
Please
in
do.
context for all the parents. Um, COVID was a strange time for all of us, but one thing that happened is with our students is everybody's at home, nobody can go out, and they're bored, and their English needs to be built up, their math skills need to be built up, and they were really struggling. All the kids were really struggling with this remote school thing, especially in Turkey. It was just difficult. Right? We still see the impact of that. But I didn't really want our students to sit and do nothing. So I was always like outside going, looking around for things students can do online. And research was one of those options. So I'm talking like 2020s, like 4 or 5 years ago right now. So, and it was really nice to meet Jen and like get to know more about Polygence. And a lot of folks have worked with them and have really benefited from it since. So I'm just gonna summarize for you, who they are, like who she is, because I think we have a guest that's quite special today. So I just want you to understand she actually founded the company. And she was an academic and turned entrepreneur, and she's from Hong Kong, and she graduated from Princeton as the class valedictorian in 2017. Okay, so not too long ago. But she's pursuing a PhD at Stanford right now in comparative literature. And she's also recently awarded for the Forbes magazine's 30 under 30 in the education sector. And she's a co-founder, like I said, of Polygence Research Academy. And just for context, what Polygence does is it connects high school students with PhDs and other experts to conduct research and passion projects. So they have like 3,000 expert mentors. Um, and they tackle diverse academic fields, and they tackle everything from AI to history to quantum computing and fine arts. So if you're an art student, you can still use research. Um, and they've supported like 6,000 students to date. So they're by far one of the, highest volume and expertise in the world. Şimdi özür dilerim bunu İngilizce söylediğim için. Ama misafirimiz anlasın diye öyle yapıyorum. Um, and I know there's going to be one question at the end. I'm just going to tell you the response up front, and maybe Jen can do a better job of explaining that throughout her spiel. But I often get asked, well, if we're paying for research, what do universities think about it? Does it? Yes, they care. If you've developed very focused expertise, and if you're interested enough in a subject where you've gone out of your way to look at outside resources, done an in-depth study, and arrived at your own conclusions, and learn how to write a white paper, and formulated your own hypotheses. I'm not sure which ones are involved. That is always a good sign, and without a doubt, they always, when we talk to universities, this is what they tell us. So we will always recommend research if the student is able. So I don't want to talk anymore, and I want to just transition it over to Jen, please. And thank you so much for being with us.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ishim, for that introduction. Merhaba, everyone. That is about the extent of my Turkish. I actually recently moved to a new place where my neighbors are Turkish, so I've been like slowly learning some here and there. So maybe next time I come see you guys, I'll have one more sentence than the one word that I have. Thanks for that warm intro, Hisham. Great to be here with everyone. Thank you for joining late in the evening. I know for those of you who are currently in Turkey. I'm calling from California, so it's morning for me. So I'll just quickly give everyone an intro, and then I'll leave plenty of time for us to answer any questions. And we can have a dialogue at the end. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Yes? Okay, perfect. All right. So I'll skip the intro since you did such a good job, but I'll just comment on the fact that I've been in education for a while now. So even while I was an undergrad at Princeton, I've just realized how much I loved teaching and how much I think teaching and education mattered to me. So when I was an undergrad, I started this prison teaching initiative where I started this tutoring class in some of the prisons around New Jersey. And then when I went on to Stanford to do my PhD, I started teaching French classes at Stanford and then also led some global seminars. And I just realized actually during my PhD that I loved working directly with students so much more than doing research and writing research papers that I actually decided to quit the PhD. So put it on pause to work full time on Polygence, working directly with high schoolers because it just felt um, so much more productive and impactful. And over the last, 5 to 6 years, what I've really seen as one of the most important things is helping students overcome that anxiety about college admissions and really find the thing that really sparks them and makes them excited about going to college, about, stepping outside of the boundaries of their home and also delving really deep into a subject area that they care about. And I think as an international student myself, coming from Hong Kong all the way to the US, I think just reflecting back on my own experience, that's also something that I would love to give as a gift to any international student who's thinking about going abroad and leaving their home country. Um, so what exactly is Polygence? So we are an online mentorship program. We're probably the largest, I think, of our kind, that helps students turn their passions into independent and unique research projects. We pair our students with PhD level mentors, and they do all kinds of projects. We don't only help them write papers. Our students design experiments, they build robots, they, record podcasts. We've had students start companies with their mentors, which is amazing. We've had students write short stories and screenplays. And then obviously we also have students who write papers that they try to get submitted to reputable journals. And the thing that is really important to us is that we support not only STEM research, even though, as you can imagine, STEM is one of the most popular fields, but we're able to support students who are interested in literature, in Middle Eastern history, in you name it, and we probably have mentors in it. And this is something that is very core to our DNA and very important to us. So why did I start Polygence all those years ago with my co-founder? The idea really is that I was really sick of how traditional education, especially in East Asia, where I'm from, prioritizes grades over everything else. Curiosity doesn't matter, college preparedness and life preparedness doesn't really matter. And there's very little room for students to really explore their interests and for them to take charge of their own learning. And so that's why I wanted to start Polygons, not only to change things internationally, but also, I mean, in the US, it's the same story. The teacher to student ratio is so high. And the fact that there's just very little chance for students to actually take the reins of their own learning. And we think about this as much more than just helping them get into college, even though that's obviously a big part of it. It's also about future preparedness, right? Like through doing a research project like this, students learn a lot of skills that schools simply don't teach, right? How to ask good questions, how to time manage, how to manage your relationship with a slightly older near peer authority figure that you'll be working with. And so a lot of these things are soft skills and hard skills that I think are just really important for students to learn and that they don't really get in high school. So what exactly is independent research? Like how we get a lot of questions from parents about how do you do research when you're not in person, when you don't have a lab? Like, what does that look like? Independent research is actually a way for students to just find their spark. It's basically anytime a student gets to just explore a topic that really excites them with the help of and guidance of a mentor. And it can happen in many different ways. It doesn't have to be in person and it doesn't have to be in the lab, like I mentioned. It's about giving students the agency over their own learning. It's about teaching them how to ask questions. The interesting thing about Polygence is we don't give students like a menu of projects to choose from. We ask students, what are you interested in? And then we help tailor the project to your interests. And so we put that onus on the student because it's actually really important to us that the student is the one coming up with the ideas. obviously gaining real world skills, whether it's
Yeah,
communication, whether it's time management,
definitively.
um, whether it's, other kinds of skills, it's just really important. And then the last thing is creating something real. All of our students walk away with some kind of tangible final product, whether it's a paper, a robot, a podcast, for them to be able to show colleges, but also as something as a keepsake, right? You want to see evidence of your own learning and your own development. And so I'm just actually curious if there are parents or kids on the call, if you want to just share in the chat, what are some of the subjects that you guys are interested in or that you think your children might be interested in? Feel free to write it in Turkish or in English, and I'll just take a look. I'm just curious what everyone's sort of excited about here on this call. Cool. Lots of life sciences, neuroscience, biotech, more biomedical engineering. Very cool. I got some DMs as well. But environmental science. I see robotics, AI, psychology.
Mhm.
Psychology is actually one of our most popular subject areas, psychology and mental health. Genetics, very cool. Okay, so very life sciences heavy and engineering heavy. Very cool. Mechanical engineering. Law, yay, humanities. Okay. Learning how to do research, economics and math, chemical engineering. Very cool. Okay, so a very wide variety of interest, slightly STEM heavy, but you know, lots of different areas of engineering and life sciences. Okay, this is really good to know because then in the examples that I give you guys of what kinds of projects you could do, I'll sort of tailor it to some of them, some of your guys' interests. Oh, we have more coming in. Particle physics. I love that. My co-founder actually did his PhD in MIT in quantum physics. And the two of us kind of represent, huge humanities nerd. I was doing, literature and French and Arabic, and then he did physics. And so we represent sort of the two spectrums. Okay, so who are the people that you'll be working with? Like, who are these mentors? We actually have over 3,000 experts that we've handpicked from some of the best universities in the US. These are PhD level researchers. Some of them are assistant professors. Some of them are postdocs. But then we also have mentors who are industry experts. So for example, like if you're interested in doing a project on fashion, we actually have a mentor like Katarina who actually studied costume design for stage and film, and she actually works on Broadway now as a costume designer for Broadway musicals. And so it's not just, we have lots of academic mentors, but for those students who are interested in other kinds of maybe more niche industries, we also have what we call industry experts who may not be currently in school, but are, working in industry. This I won't spend too much time on, but essentially it's what I talked about earlier with future preparedness. Just wanted to highlight what one of our parents talked about in terms of how the Polygence experience helped his daughter not only with being better at writing, but also growing her confidence, which I think is actually the best gift we can give a student. Sure, they can, get better at writing. Sure, they can have an amazing paper at the end of it. But I think it's that intellectual confidence that she can do something really hard and that she can do something that she designs herself is actually one of the best things that we're able to give a student. And in an age where there are so many unethical players out there who guarantee things and where you can easily buy a paper nowadays. It's really that learning experience and that confidence building that is the most important. And I think this is something that, yeah, one of our parents just recently reflected on. That being said, obviously, college admissions is something that is very important to all of us here. And so our data supports that as well. I mean, our students have done very well traditionally in admissions. And we've also been collecting more and more data about how exactly our students are showcasing their projects. So we don't require our students to mention Polygence at all when they talk about their projects. They talk about an independent research project that they've done under the guidance of XYZ person. A lot of them attach their papers as supplements. A lot of them, they might talk about it in their extracurriculars. They might talk about it in their main essay, depending on what topic their intellectual narrative is going to be on. And we're actually particularly proud of this statistic, which is close to 90% of our alums say that their independent project will help or has already helped them succeed in college. And one of the most important things that our students cite Polygence helping them with is figuring out, do I want to major in genetics? Do I want to major in mechanical engineering? Like, do I love this thing enough? Do I know enough about this thing to want to devote my career to it? And diving into a project and learning from someone who has made a career out of this subject that you want to dive into is one of the best ways to figure out whether this is what you want to do for the rest of your life. And so I actually very much wish I had Polygence when I was in high school because I thought I wanted to be an academic, but boy, did I not know what being in academia means. And it took me halfway through the PhD to realize, crap, I don't want to be an academic. I want to do something more fun, and I want to, be in a more fast-paced environment, which is why then I started this program. But I wish I knew that earlier, and kids nowadays can have that knowledge earlier and earlier, which is so great. Okay, so a big question that we always get is, what can I do with my research, right? I produced this paper, or I started this company, or I, wrote this short story. Like, what do I do with it now that I have this kind of cool piece of work? Which is why I think showcasing, which is the word that we use for the afterlife of your project, is so important. There are four main ways in which we support our students in showcasing their work. The first one is probably one that we've all heard of, which is publication. So students who want to write research papers, they want to submit to very reputable journals. Maybe students who are writing review papers might submit to preprint archives. Lots of different journals exist, lots of different tiers. There are some that are very predatory that we know a lot about and tell our students to stay away from. There are some that are extremely, extremely selective and difficult to get into that we tell our students, feel free to submit here, but know that the editorial process is going to be very long and very arduous. And so we have a lot of that industry knowledge that we will share with our students if they choose to do the publication route. Um, Now we also have competing, which is, students who want to enter into science fairs locally or internationally, computer science leagues, kids who want to submit their work to writing competitions or history day contests. This is where we have experts on our team who have supported a lot of students through these specific competitions who can help students prepare their work. One of the most common and popular outlets for this is, ISEF, so the Science Fair, International Science Fair, and Regeneron. Um, and then the third one is presenting. So presenting at a conference, or you want to record something. It's sort of like a public speaking way of showcasing your work. Polygence organizes our own high school conference twice a year, so students can apply to present at that. It is a competitive process, so we do have awards for some of the best presentations. We usually get around 200 kids who present every time. Um, and so this is a really great way for someone who wants to verbalize and sort of verbally share their project. And then the last one is sort of a catch-all for kids who want to get creative with their work. We've had students shoot documentaries about the forest fires that they were studying. We've had students compose their own song and put it on Spotify as their project. So there are lots of multimedia ways that students can showcase and publish their projects as well. So this is all to say that I believe actually we're the only program out there that does more than just publishing. And I think why this is so important is that publishing is not the only thing you can do. First of all, it's probably not the most fun thing for students to do because they've been already doing a lot of writing in school. And the second thing is, with so many people now publishing their work in lots of, some of these journals are bogus, some of them are scammy. I think colleges are also getting more and more discerning about where you publish and the quality of your publication. And so if the student actually will be more excited and more passionate going to a conference or, doing a podcast instead of writing a mediocre research paper that gets published in a mediocre journal, we want to opt for the option that the student has more fun in and also will have a bigger impact in admissions, which is often going to be the one where they're more excited and genuine and can put more time in. And so that's just one quick plug that I'll put there. I'll move into examples of projects. You guys are probably all wondering, like, what are some of the things that, I could do? I'll give you an example of a student that has done really well in publishing and is in life sciences, which is something that a lot of you all have suggested that you're interested. So Akshanka is actually currently now at University of Chicago as a sophomore. She did two projects with us in 2022 and 2023, I believe. And she worked on both projects with the same mentor, actually, a PhD candidate in molecular genetics and genomics. And she was very fascinated by CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing technology. And she wrote a paper about the applications of this technology in treating human diseases. She published her work in a couple of places. One is a preprint of her paper that was published in this Authoria, which is a preprint archive. And then she also submitted it to the Journal of Student Research, which is a high school journal specifically for high school students' work. And then she actually also did present at our conference as well. Um, and she's now studying genetics at the University of Chicago and having a great time there, which is super exciting. Um, this is more of a mechanical engineering and robotics student. I know that some of you all mentioned in the chat that you were interested in that as well. Yusuf did two projects with us as well. The first project that he did was he actually built a robot that you can see on the right here. His chore at home, he lives in Michigan, is to shovel the snow. And he really hated shoveling the snow. And so he was like, I need to build something that can like do this for me because it's so annoying. And it snows a lot in Michigan. So what he did was he designed this robot, and with the help of his mentor, who has a PhD from robotics from University of Michigan, um, he designed this robot that actually detects snow and then sprinkles salt automatically on the driveway so that he doesn't have to be the one to do it and so that the snow could melt. And he actually got this technology patented in Michigan, which is just kind of amazing and cool. And he is now pursuing a degree in mechanical engineering at Northwestern. And he's actually one of our first students who he did an accelerated degree where he actually did his master's and the undergrad in 4 years. And he's now back at Polygence as a mentor. So he went full circle student and then became mentor, which is awesome. And he presented his work at our conference and won an award there. Oh, one more thing I'll mention about Yusuf actually. Both of his projects he did with us on a completely full scholarship. So we offer a select number of need-based scholarships to students. And Yusuf was one of those kids that was so brilliant and so incredible that we decided to offer him this opportunity twice. Lydia, this is a example of a more creative type project, was very interested in fashion history and fashion design. She actually sewed this dress herself with the help of her mentor, which is a dress that is painted in an 18th century painting. And she just really loved this dress and wanted to learn how to recreate it. And she worked with this fashion design mentor who has an MFA from NYU, and recreated this dress from this painting. And it's just a really awesome and cool project because it truly represents who she is. Like it's not something you can dream of or like pick off of the internet. It's something that she's just fascinated with art and painting and design. And I believe she's now actually pursuing either art history or design or maybe a joint degree there at Cornell, which we're super excited for her. And then the last one, which is, I think, just a wacky and very cool project, another one on sort of physics, but also microbiology. Ananth, currently a freshman at UC Santa Cruz, he did this project, I think, a year ago or 2023, so 2 years ago. He's fascinated by finding ways to synthesize drugs in space to save lives during space missions. And he wanted to combine, astrophysics and space travel with biology. And he created this project on microgravity effects on metamorphic protein structure. And he worked with an astrobiology PhD researcher from ASU. And what he was able to achieve is just like beyond the wildest dreams of even my imagination, which is he joined the Genes in Space competition, which is a very, very competitive competition with like 6,500 applicants. 30 semifinalists and 5 finalists, and he was one of the five. He didn't end up winning the thing, but just being one of the five of 6,500 is just pretty insane. They flew him out to the International Space Station Research Development Conference in Seattle to present his work. So he got to present his work in front of like an actual panel of researchers and people who, design space missions and stuff, which is just super cool. And he's now pursuing astrobiology at UC Santa Cruz, which is just so incredible to see that he began his research journey and career at Polygence. I'll probably fly through this. We'll send out the slides as well for those of you who are interested. But as I mentioned, there's a lot of knowledge about where to publish, where to compete, which one is right for your students, depending on your timeline, depending on your level, that we have accumulated over the years. And so this is information that we make available to all of our counselors, partner counselors at admittance, and also to our students once they enroll, because we understand that picking the right outlet is really important, and making sure that it's a reputable outlet is also very important. Um, yeah, I'll just skip over this. This is something that we've also talked about. Okay, so I'll quickly go over the Polygence programs. So we have a number of ways that students can engage with Polygence. The most basic way is the core research program, which is our 10 one-on-one sessions with mentors. Each session is 1 hour long. And everything happens on our platform. Every single session is recorded. Students and parents will have access to those sessions and all of the notes. And then usually it takes around 3 to 6 months, depending on whether students are doing it during the school year or doing it during the summer where it can be more condensed. Now, I actually saw a question in the chat about how do you determine, which subject area to work on or what project to work on. And this is why we've actually developed a project type called Launchpad with Core. So Launchpad is for students who aren't in a rush, but need a little bit more time to figure out what they might want to do their project on. So if a student is interested in environmental science, but also biology, but also computer science, we can pair them with 3 mentors where they meet with each of them for an hour each to get to understand their career. What does it mean to do microbiology? What does it mean to be an environmental scientist? Before the kid decides, okay, after meeting these 3 mentors, learning a little bit more, what subject area do I actually want to dive into? And so this is designed usually for slightly younger students who have a little bit more time and who need a little bit more brainstorming time to figure out what they want to do. So that's Launchpad, 3 sessions before the full core experience. And then the last thing is something that I've already kind of previewed, which is for students who want more support with showcasing, whether it's with publishing, whether it's with multimedia publication, presenting, or competing. We have 4 different tracks. Each of them is 3 sessions, and you can get a specialist who is a specialist in one of those 4 showcasing areas that you can add onto your core project experience at the end. And so typically this mentor is someone who is different from your core mentor, someone who is much more attuned to the actual showcasing outlet. And they will help you with identifying the journal, going through the editorial process, figuring out when to submit, that kind of thing. We get a lot of questions about when is the right time to start the project, how long the project takes. As I mentioned, around 3 to 6 months. It's a completely independent process. So students schedule with mentors. We will flag if we think you guys are falling behind, or if we think, hey, you haven't talked to your mentor in 2 weeks, like we will flag this for you. But by and large, it's up to the student to keep up the momentum with the mentor. In terms of when is the best time to start a project, we have a lot of students who choose to start it during their sophomore or their junior year. But we also have students who are maybe more precocious or more mature and know very early on, maybe even in the 9th grade or early 10th grade, that they know what they want to do and they want to start it earlier. That's also totally, totally fine. Sometimes we have even like incredible middle schoolers, like 8th graders doing projects with us, but I would say that's probably rare. So sophomore, junior year, we see a lot of students enrolling in the Launchpad program so that they can do a little bit more exploring. For kids who are coming to us maybe early senior year, they usually just do the core, or they do the core program with the showcasing. So again, it depends on your timeline. Are you thinking of applying early to schools? Do you need to be done by, November? All of those things. This is just sort of an overview of the pricing. I will make sure that Yashim gets to send this out to you. The all admittance education students get a 10% scholarship tuition discount off of all of our programs. And obviously we also have need-based financial aid and a select number of full scholarships available as well. So on the application, there's a section where you can fill that out. Okay, I'm probably going to skip over this. And then, so I'm going to put this link in the chat. So this link is the admittance education specific application link. So if you apply using this link, we will know you guys are associated with admittance, and then we'll make sure that not only do you get the best mentors, but also that you get the tuition off. And so let me just put this link in the chat so that you won't so you don't lose it. And then I want to make sure we have time to take any questions. I know that was a lot of information. Okay, I just put it in the chat.
Jen, can I read one that just came in? That it's a
Yeah,
very
of course. I
this
haven't
is
looked at
this,
it.
they're asking about the piece I was inquiring about a couple weeks back on the
Yes,
add-ons with Envision, where you can actually continue some of your work in person in a lab environment.
absolutely. Yes. So this is actually a program that we just started offering. I'm going to, so we have two in-person programs that students can um, medicine that students can participate in. The first one is with Summer Discovery. So I'll talk about that one first, and then I'll talk about Envision. So this program is actually on Berkeley's campus. So it's going to be, the date's already set. It's going to be June 29th to July 11th. This is going to be 2 weeks on campus at Berkeley with a Berkeley instructor introducing you to the study of medicine. You'll get lab access, you'll do dissections, you'll go to lectures about anatomy. It's sort of like a broad intro to medicine. And then at the end of that program, when you go home, you pick a topic from whatever you learned during those 2 weeks. And then we pair you with an expert in that topic to work on your one-on-one research portion of it. So it's sort of like broad intro for 2 weeks on campus, and then deep dive into your own personal project afterwards when you get home. So this is the Summer Discovery at UC Berkeley course. I will send this in the chat. So that's number one. Where's the chat? Here, Summer Discovery Research Medicine. I'm just going to title it so that you guys can see it. Okay. And then the second thing is, let me just open that site. The second thing is we have also a partnership with Envision, which is a much larger residential offering program that offers lots of different subject areas. And we have one partnership with them in medicine and healthcare on a variety of different campuses. So University of Michigan, Emory, Berkeley again, Rice, UCLA, Yale is sold out already, so not Yale. But again, it's the same idea. So you do the residential program for these are some of these are slightly shorter, 7 days, some of them are 2 weeks. And then you go home and you pick a topic to do your Polygence project in. And there are still spots, I think, in a lot of these in most of these residential programs, which I'm assuming will be what you guys are interested in because you're not local to any of these places. So that's for medicine and healthcare. And then we also have the same joint program with engineering in a smaller number of campuses, but University of Michigan, Georgia Tech, again Berkeley, and then UCLA. The Envision programs tend to be a little bit shorter than the Summer Discovery one, so like 7 days instead of 14 days. And but it's the same idea. You get an intro to dorm life, what it's like to live independently, intro to that particular subject area that you've chosen, and then you pick a topic from your experience on campus to do your research project on at home. And for this, you can just click on this button to apply. So the Envision program and the Summer Discovery program is not through our website. You'll have to apply on their website, but when you enroll, Polygence is part of the whole experience as well. The other thing I'll mention about Envision actually is that, give me one second. I'm going to um, show you guys. So Polygence is now also available as an add-on in almost all Envision experiences. So if you go to Envision and you go to their programs, um, our programs, let's say I want to look at, I don't know, National Youth Leadership Forum is the name of their summer programs. This is law and crime scene investigation. So for our student out there who mentioned in the chat that you're interested in law, this might be something of interest. So this is the law program in Washington, D.C. I think you spend yeah around a week and a half, 2 weeks there. And you can also add Polygence research as part of it if you want to have that Polygence experience afterwards. So the ones that I just mentioned, the healthcare and the engineering one, those are joint programs. So if you enroll in those programs, Polygence is automatically as part of it. But in all of the Envision programs, whether it's law, there's some neuroscience and psychology, if you wanted to take your learning one step further, from the group class experience that you'll get on campus, you can also do that by adding Polygence on their website. From Baki, is this for a residential again? Yes. So the law program that I just shared my screen on, I can put it in here, is also residential. I believe they have commuter versions, but I don't think they have virtual versions. Envision is all in person. Any other questions? You're welcome, Fatima. Do you guys offer financial aid? Yes, we absolutely do. We offer need-based financial aid. We have a partial aid program and also a full aid program. And so when you apply on our website, there will be a section about financial aid and where we'll ask you to submit some tax documents. And we'll determine the aid amount there. From Baki, not the law, but the list you showed about engineering. Yes, sorry, let me send that again. The list for engineering is also all in person. It's in this link, but if you just scroll all the way down, you'll see the engineering box that I just showed, this box. Yeah, these are all residential programs, meaning students stay overnight for those 7 days.
Hello, can I ask something?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. In the presentation, there was the slide pricing and bundle. Is it
Mhm.
possible to, I didn't get about the differences. You say Launchpad, core program, showcasing support. What is Launchpad? And there are some session differences. Can you please explain the differences?
Absolutely.
Or
Yes, let me just pull that
which
up.
one would you recommend?
Yes. May I ask how old the student is?
He's in the 10th grade.
Okay, in 10th grade. So actually maybe I'll go back to these slides because the comparison slide, actually I'll go this slide. So okay, so the difference between Launchpad, Core, and then Premium Showcasing. Launchpad is 3 sessions that happens at the beginning before you even start your one-on-one project. This is for students who want to meet with more mentors in different subject areas to decide what they might want to do their project on. So let's say you have a 10th grader who like loves genetics, but also really loves law and also really loves, I don't know, plants, let's say. And like he doesn't really know what he wants to focus on and he seems to love all three. This might be a really good program for him to meet with 3 mentors, each in one of those specialties, to talk through different potential ideas before even actually deciding. So I would say if you have a 10th grader and they have a wide variety of interests, this is probably a really good program to start with because they're not pressed for time and this is a good exposure for them. For showcasing support, this is really for kids who want more help with the publication aspect, the competition aspect. They want a bit more hand-holding and they want a little bit more oversight and accountability. This is 3 sessions that is added on at the very end of their program, where they get to meet with a specialist to help with submitting to a journal, etc. So Launchpad is at the beginning, 3 sessions. Premium Showcasing is at the end, 3 sessions. What does Polygence offer for economics? Awesome. And then another question, what are the limits of your support in showcasing the projects? Cool. So for economics, I'm just gonna navigate to this one page where you guys can take a look afterwards as well. So economics and business, I would say is probably our second most popular subject. If you go to our website, this is just our normal website, and you go to projects and then browse completed projects, this is actually a really, really great page where you can look at past projects that our students have done. And since we're interested in economics, we can head to filter for economics and let's see what projects come out. Okay, so let's say, oh, this is a great example. So one of our students, I think this is a student from Bulgaria actually, who wanted to work on the Bright Economy Composite Index of 2023. And this is a student who wrote a research paper, and if you click into this, you can actually read his research paper if you're curious about what he wrote about. I think it's a he, Alexander. And you can also watch his presentation. We're not going to watch it now, but you can
A part of a
see
country's GDP.
what he presented on and what his research was on. And then here you can also read a little bit about the student, who was the mentor that he worked with, what his experience was with the mentor and the project, etc. So this is just a really great way to see what kinds of topics within economics, let's say, have been done before. So you get a sense of like what's possible. Let me give you another example. Oh, this is actually pretty interesting. So one student, this is a Korean student actually, was really interested in factors that cause lower female labor participation and what are the possible negative effects it can pose for the future. How can we counteract economic disparity in labor participation? And I think this was mainly based on the US. But again, like you can read his research paper to get a sense of the level of the students that the students are working at. Again, their experience, who the mentor was, that kind of thing. So I would suggest if you're curious about what's possible, or like if you just want to, let's say, go here and say like, oh, I'm interested in, I don't know, cancer. You can go in and just see, oh, what are some of the projects that our kids have done on cancer? Okay, so there's generative AI and cancer. There's diet and cancer. There's, again, lung cancer with AI detection. And this is just a small selection. I think we have like a couple hundred projects here. We've done over 6,000. These are just projects where our students have given us permission to show. So you won't find every single project we've ever done, but this is a pretty good place to go if you're curious about potential subject areas and what our kids have done. What are the limits of your support in showcasing the projects? That's a really good question. So we are an ethical program, so we're not able to guarantee any kind of publication. We will support you all the way through submission, all the way through any number of reviews, but we are not able to, and we will never guarantee any kind of actual publication results. That being said, our publication support program is also pretty flexible. So we understand that some journals, as is the case in lots of places in academia, take a long time to get back to students. It might be weeks or maybe even months before the journal gets back. And we know this about the particular journals, and we will advise you, hey, if you want to get an answer before your early application deadline, you probably don't want to submit to this journal because they take 3 months on average to get back to you. We will support you through the entire process, help you with, the editing process as well. Is everybody accepted into the research program, or is there an elimination process by Polygence? Really, really good question. So we are selective, but we're selective in a very special way. So we don't look at grades. We don't look at recommendation letters. We don't care how well you're doing in school, even though I'm sure most people in this crowd are extremely high-performing students. What we care about is whether your student actually seems excited about the project. And it's a very interesting criteria because we look at that mainly through the interview. So if your student, if it's clear the student is like excited about it, it doesn't matter if they don't know a lot about the topic. What we're looking for is that kind of curiosity and spark. We've rejected students in the past where they're like in the interview, like, yeah, I'm interested in genetics. And then you ask them a little bit more about like, why are you interested in genetics? Like, what about genetics excites you? And they're like, I don't know, it's just kind of cool. Like those kinds of students, our mentors would not enjoy working with and probably would also not do well in Polygen. So those are the kinds of students we typically don't work with. And then the third type of student we typically don't work with is students where it's clear that the parents and them want different things. So if the student says, I want to do a project in economics, but on the call, the parents are like, no, the student is going to do a project in engineering. We need the family to be on the same page before we can work with them. And so that's the other case where we typically will say no to the family. We have a question about mentors. Yes, let me share my screen again and show you where you can see all of this information. So again, this is our home page. You could go to our mentors tab, see all mentors. This is a really great place to just look at who our mentors are. So let's say I'm going to just do cancer again. Okay, let's say I want to look at Sarah, or let's say Jan. You can click into it and you'll see where they're currently working or where they're currently a student, a little bit about them. The mentor wrote this themselves. And then also project ideas. So all of our mentors, when they come to our website and we do a background check and we decide we want to take them as a mentor, we ask them to submit project ideas that they would be excited to work with their students on. So this is yet another place where you can take a look to see like what mentors have suggested as potential high school projects. And this is actually such a cool topic. It's like, how do cells know who their neighbors are? Like organs, like do tissues know that there are other kind of tissues next to them or like, two steps over? What happens when tissues have that kind of like, awareness or in cell to cell communication? You'll get to see a little bit more about like, are they a coding mentor? If so, what languages they use, actual languages too, if you're curious about that, and then any teaching experience they've done, and then work experience as well. So this is a pretty comprehensive place to look at who the mentors are. And we have, I mean, tons and tons and tons of cancer is again one of our most popular topics. So which is why we have an endless number of cancer related mentors. But yeah, anytime you find a mentor, just click view and you can read more about them. I think we had another question come in. How would you recommend us to choose the right research program? There are many programs. Yes. So this is something that we will help you as well on the admissions call. So before anybody can even enroll, we require a call with our team. And that's when we can understand a little bit more about your student situation, timeline, and then recommend a program. But in general, I would say that if you're in high school, it probably makes sense for you to do a core program. And if your student is confused about the topic that they might want to do, then I think Launchpad is a really good introduction. You can always add premium showcasing in the middle of core. Like you don't have to enroll in it at the very beginning if you're not sure if you need the extra help. And so Launchpad is really the only thing that you would have to enroll in upfront because the student doesn't know what they want to do. And so I think it also depends on how firmly your student knows what they want to do. I've worked with students who came in with like incredibly specific like project ideas. It's like they've been thinking about it all their lives. And for those students, like, yeah, you don't need Launchpad, just go straight into the core program. But if your kid needs a little bit more brainstorming or they're curious about a lot of different things, I would recommend Launchpad. Is it possible to change the mentor? Absolutely. So we have a mentor satisfaction guarantee policy here at Polygence. We will change the mentor until you are satisfied with the mentor. And oftentimes, families or students change their minds about what they want to do, right? Maybe after the second session, they're like, oh my gosh, I actually don't want to work on the Bulgarian economy anymore. I actually want to work on Romanian economy instead. If that happens, then obviously we need to find you a new expert, and we will change the mentor. Sometimes it's a personality fit. Like the student's like, this is a perfect mentor in terms of subject area, but I'm just not clicking with them. Happy to change the mentor there too. But we just ask that you meet with the mentor that we first assign you with because we have a pretty high success rate in terms of mentor student matches because we've done this for a while now. And so, yeah, that would be my suggestion. Next step to work with us, yes, is to use the admittance education link. Let me send that over one more time to start an application. So that's the first thing to do. Once you start an application, you'll be able to meet with our team and then move forward with the process there. We don't have cohorts. That's the other special thing about Polygence, which means you can start any day of the year because we understand that there's just so many different um, school years, sort of schedules. And so you can apply anytime. Although I would say now that we're inching closer and closer to the summer, the earlier you apply, the higher chance you'll get one of our better mentors, just because every month that goes by now, we have just hundreds of applications coming in. And so, and mentors are all kind of on a first come, first serve basis. And so the earlier you apply, the sooner we'll be able to match you with someone. And we are able to match pretty quickly. So once enrollment happens, we are able to match within 7 to 14 days just because we have so many mentors. And so you can get started, within a couple of weeks if you decide you want to start now. Some students apply now and then hold their spot to start in the summer. You can also do that. That way you have locked in your mentor and you're able to, forget about it until after school ends. Question. There's a huge market in the research business. Absolutely. Is research through your firm could be an advantage for students trying to get admitted to universities? Yes, as I mentioned earlier, we are one of the sadly few ethical research firms out there where we actually care about the students learning and we make the students do the work. Like if you want to just buy a paper, we are not the right place to come to.
Can I
Um,
interject a question because you touched upon something that's quite important in Turkey right now? When you mentioned, where Polygence is ethical, of course, um, on the receiving side, can you explain to them how you can determine, why it matters, what type of publication? Because we often see outfits with their own made up online platforms. Can you just elaborate on that for the parents here?
yes, absolutely. So, publication outlets are really important because they only matter if they're legit. By legit, I mean it only matters if they're real, if the quality is controlled, and if the admissions office can see that like this is a real publication. And so we only recommend publications that are either peer reviewed, which in academia means have an actual review and editing process where a panel of experts read the papers, give feedback, accept, decline, where there's a real selection process. Or if we're not going for some of these super selective journals, it's clear that it's a preprint archive, meaning there's still quality control around plagiarism and everything, but it's not marketed as some kind of like peer-reviewed experience. And admissions officers know. Admissions officers can tell if a journal is fake or if a journal just publishes random stuff that like has never been through any kind of editing process. And so working with our firm is important because by now admissions officers kind of know which programs and which companies unfortunately just aren't abiding by the rules of ethics. And also, I think the most important thing is I think we don't want to shortchange our students' learning, right? Like it's their learning and their eventual success that matters the most to us. And why would we rob them of a learning experience? I think is, yeah.
Thank you. It's just so important. That point is so important for Turkey, especially, and maybe China. I'm hearing a lot about there too, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking the question, Mehmet. All right. Any other questions?
We had some really good ones.
Can I ask a question, Yeşil?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. I guess you have four common platforms for showcasing. which are publishing, computing, presenting, and multimedia.
Hmm.
From the perspective of admissions officers, which one is more valuable for them?
Very, very good question. The one that is the most valuable is the one where the student can really shine with their genuine excitement the most. So that depends on what your student is interested in. I've had parents like try to force their kids to do a publication when all the kid wants to do is write a song, let's say, and like put it on Spotify or like make a big hit on YouTube. So I think what matters at the end of the day is how authentic it comes across. And it needs to be authentic in order for admissions officers to be impressed with it because that's at the end of the day what they're looking for. And so I would say they're all equal, but it depends on what excites your student the most and what will make your student put in the most amount of work. Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters.
And as counselors, we always look for that match as well, and we don't try to oversize, the project. We try to size it perfectly to the capabilities and level of each student as well. So those things are really important because really, at the end of the day, we do these things um, to broaden our curiosity and to become focused on our areas of interest. And that's what universities are looking for. So these are not like items on a checklist you just have to tick off in order to gain admission. We never look at it that way. And I think universities definitely know the difference, by the way. So
Absolutely. They're not dummies.
no, they're very smart.
They may only spend 7 minutes on the application, but they're not dummies.
Yeah, well, Cambridge said they spent like 18 hours, which makes sense given their whole process. So, yeah, in the
Yeah.
US it's so short, but these things also help in the UK and with your personal statement and even with motivation letters in Europe sometimes.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Like all our,
One more,
yeah.
one more question, if you don't mind. I
Hmm.
mean, if you rate your firm in the respect of a buy or best buy, I mean, as far as I know, I have just made a quick research about your firm. Your prices are quite reasonable compared to other firms that offer similar quality service. Uh, so your prices are quite lower compared to them. However, your quality may be competing with them. So from the perspective of price and quality of your service, how would you rate your company within the first 10 in the world, maybe, or
Yeah.
in the United States, maybe?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think quality wise, we're actually one of the companies that controls for quality the best because we have a platform where we can oversee every single project. So no other program out there records every session, reviews all the sessions for any problems, and is able to actually identify, like for example, before the student even or the mentor even complains, sometimes we message the family and we're like, hey, we see that your student hasn't responded to the mentor in 8 days. What's going on? And the student's like, forgive me, like I'm just dealing with AP exams, like I'm going to respond to the student to the mentor. And so we do a lot of preventative and proactive measures that other programs are not able to do because we have oversight over the entire process. And this is something that we give parents as well. So as a parent, you will have access to see exactly where your student is at every step of the way, which is a level of visibility again that's not offered by any other program. The second thing, and it's actually kind of crazy that this is the case. I think we're the only program that runs federal background checks on every single mentor. I don't think any other program out there actually spends the time or the money to actually, investigate everything because I mean, these mentors are working with minors. Your children are our most important asset. And yeah, we just want to make sure that everything is safe and that our mentors are top quality. And then the third thing is we give ongoing professional training to our mentors, helping them become better teachers. We give a lot of AI feedback. We analyze their sessions to figure out how much they're talking, how much their students are talking. We give them feedback on like the tone they're using, all of those kinds of things. And so I would say that with ongoing sort of monitoring and also feedback giving, I would say we're probably up there, top three, if not top one, in terms
Mhm.
of quality.
And I mean, that was a really good question, but just from a counseling standpoint, I would not compare you know, um, all the research providers, put them next to each other. Everybody has points of difference. I think really it's really important to understand. Now, Polygence has introduced an in-person component. I think that's also really interesting. A lot of people don't have that. So just, it's apples and oranges. It's whatever fits the student, really. very compelling. Of course, like Melissa said, the background check is, I think, really important. And the feedback on how much the mentor spoke versus the student. Love that. That's so good for all our students.
And it's hard because these students are used to being talked to, right? These students are used to being lectured at, and sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get them to participate more. But it's really important training for college because they'll be in seminars where they're expected to lead the class.
They go to the back of the class and hide the whole time, and they think they're going to get high marks in their exams. They're just not college ready. So, and this, unfortunately, that's how the Turkish educational system sometimes works. So here, the parents on our side will know that, and that this is something that we're all trying to work against. So I think this is a great program to combat that and get people more prepared.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. I know we're at the top of the hour, so appreciate your time. And Jin, most importantly, this was phenomenal. Really impressive. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you so much for having me and for staying so late. I know it's late over there in Turkey. Um, yeah, thanks so much for the time. It was great to meet all of you. Feel free to email